We've been seeing these trends of programmatic. It's exploding. Branded content has been a trend, a theme over the last 3 or 4 years at Cannes. But really combining the social layers with programmatic data and producing recommendations for brands that they can act on, or they can turn into more intelligent audience classification. So in order to really get brands to understand what to talk about in all of their different channels, so what works for them on Twitter, what type of content should they write about in Facebook, how do they make these decisions? It's all in the data. So our company basically synthesizes that data and produces recommendations for the channel. We have a patent pending process where all of our machines, we build all of that ourselves. So the URLs are unwound. We take all of the content out of the URLs through a semantic layer. It allows us to machine through what topics and pieces of content are interesting for brands, and then we're able to score and rank them. So we can say at any given moment in real time what content a brand should look at or be aware of that their audience is really into. So that when they write about it, we predict that the level of interest will be high. It's a new way of measuring how creative ideas can come together. So we're 1 year old. The company, we've been growing very fast. We've been working with very large media agencies and integrating with their programmatic platforms. We've also integrated deeply with Twitter, so we do a lot of social data and audience profiling, which is really interesting because we can get so much audience data out of the social graph and use it across multiple channels. So instead of just understanding what works on Twitter, we can leverage what works on Twitter, for instance, for programmatic channels. And in our mobile space, we can use mobile data, so all of the Beacon and IDFA data, which is retail-based data. We can layer that with social data, for instance. So our model is to really work across programmatic, across social channels, in new ways to provide brands an understanding of what their audiences are into, but also an efficiency model for the programmatic space, because I think there's a huge opportunity now that data is organized in new ways to really be creative about how we package it up and put it together. The scope right now is fairly simplistic. We're taking all of the browsed URLs where the bid is closed, and then we're machining through all of those URLs to say, let's re-rank that according to content and interest. And there's a lot of data that comes out of that that's already useful. But where I see it going and the real vision for this is to leverage mobile data in new ways, social data in new ways, and put that on top of the programmatic layer.
And in terms of video, that's sort of associated with the URL, but how does video play, or might it play?
It's super interesting because there's so much tagging, and the content, the way it's described, is still data that we can machine through. So we have several partners that are doing some interesting work in the video space. So it'll just be another input for our systems. Yeah, so we're global. So we have offices right now in Chicago and Toronto, but we're looking at the West Coast and also Europe with several folks being really interested in what we're doing and the way that we're leveraging the programmatic data. So we can work on a campaign basis, so we want to make it easy to work with us. So we attach our machines to any programmatic output. We also do some very deep integrations with agencies to allow us to provide these recommendations on an ongoing basis. So putting a real-time output in the center of a creative brainstorming pit, for instance, and also having that same information on all of your devices. So in real time, as you're building a campaign, you can know what's trending, what's going on with your audience. So I see it as a deep integration with the media agencies for now, and I see it with the creative agencies going forward. So that's why we're in Cannes. We're looking to be the data layer for the new era of creativity in tech.